What is up, everyone? It is me, your favorite actor, the Hollywood assassin, Mark Schwann. And today, I am joined by a very, very talented woman here. I am here with Sawyer Wreck. Sawyer, welcome to A Shot of Wrestling.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Always. Thank you for making time for joining us here via Skype, I have to say. Again, on lockdown. How are you holding up?
I'm not going to lie. I've been better. I call this the phase of surviving, not thriving. We're just doing what we can to get by in these moments.
Yeah, well, every day it seems like it's the same. It's different mentally, I feel like, and emotionally.
Oh, every day just gets a little different, just a little weirder every time you look on social media, and things have been better. That's really trying to stay positive and like put a nice spin on the way that this is going. Like, super different.
It's funny you say that because I'm known to be a pretty positive person. So when people have been checking with me, I'm pretty honest, actually. I tell them, like, listen, I'm having good and bad days, but, overall, the important thing is to try and stay positive. So, we're human. Especially during like this, we're not meant to be confined to one space for, what are we, 2 months now? 3 months?
Oh.
Losing track now.
It's a giant blob of time and days and Hot Pockets.
Hot Pockets? I haven't had one in a while.
I went to the store and it was the only thing left in like the frozen food section. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a terrible apocalypse food. Like, I bet that could last.
I'm sure it could.
I think it was a solid investment, but there's also a reason it was left behind.
Yeah, I mean, that's my philosophy too. When I'm going grocery shopping right now, when I see like the last of something, like there's definitely a reason for that.
Like, this is the only brand, Aquafina, that hasn't been picked up. There's a reason. Yeah. All right.
Except for toilet paper. I'm going to snatch that real fast.
Ooh. Okay, this is probably not the best. I've been stealing a lot of toilet paper from my mom's house. I know, and I haven't been telling her. That's the thing. And she's not going to look, because I'm not going to tell her when this comes out.
Now, does your mom have like a surplus of it?
She does, because she had 4 kids that, are out of the house now, and so she still buys groceries at Sam's. Like, she has 4 kids now. But eventually she's going to notice how much toilet paper, because I'm just like, every time I go to the store, I'm like, oh, I need toilet paper, and it's like not there. I'm like, guess I'll just go to mom's house today.
The trick is save like 2 or 3, right? And then when she's starting to run low, hey mom, here's some toilet paper for you.
I don't want you to have to go to the store, so I just got you. Exactly. I'll bring you these.
See?
Oh, yeah.
We're conspiring here. I don't know if this is a good thing or not.
Sorry, Jan.
We're going to get right into things here. Now, you follow the news, I'm sure, in wrestling. There's been quite a few WWE releases going on here. It seems like it's not ending. How do you think that's going to impact the indie wrestling world?
Well, I'm really hoping that when the indie world comes back, they come out for the reunion tour.
Well, for you, you would feel like it's more of an embracing moment, not necessarily like, oh my God, is my spot going to be taken moment.
Yes, and I think that it's because I was brought into wrestling, like, fandom, predominantly, like, in Florida indies. And so I look at indies as, like, an embracing, like, I watched Drew McIntyre come back to Evolve the next day and have a 30-minute match that tore down the building, and just really have that emotional tie with the fans. And that has always been something that, I don't know, as a fan, and got me into it, hooked me.
So you were a fan at that point. You weren't necessarily training to be a wrestler or wrestling at that point? No,
I actually think was either a senior in college or junior. Yeah. I made a deal with my parents that I had to get my college degree before I started training.
Okay. What did you get your degree in?
I have a degree in criminal justice with a minor in secondary education.
Wow. So you're a badass. You'll tear us apart, and then you'll teach us what we did wrong.
Absolutely. I will give you a scaffolding method on how to get better. We go from there.
So going back to the whole being a fan and then going to the wrestling thing, Would you say your perception of wrestling has changed, of course, then when you made that switch, as far as like how you watch matches today in the indies or even at the professional level?
Absolutely. I trained with the Dudley Boys at Team 3D Academy in
Okay.
Kissimmee, Florida. And one of the first days I was there, Bubba brought me to the office and was talking to me about how you look at the business now as a wrestler, because you are now in the business and you're no longer looking at it as a fan.
So give me an example then of like when you watch a match. I mean, like describe like what you would see as a fan, and now how would you see that differently as a pro?
I would see somebody trying to get an angry reaction out of me, and I would think that that person was a bad person, because how dare you yell at me? And that's mean. And he's probably not nice because he did that mean thing to me, and you know what? I'm going to boo him. Versus, oh, that heel work. He's got that reaction from the crowd. You're looking at it to learn. This business is all about working with each other and learning from each other. So you take those moments to learn from them and learn from their techniques instead of, boo, you're mean, you know?
So as you know, right now, there's a lot of cinematic matches that are happening, more so than
Yeah.
there have before in the past. What is your take on that? Do you think that's something that should be explored more in the future, possibly in the indie world?
I think if the moment calls for it, I think that the WWE has certainly opened up that door into a whole different universe, which you knew that they would do something to make up for WrestleMania not being the same. So you knew they were going to bring something out. You just didn't know what it was. And so that was the coolest part about it, is that it was this crazy new thing. So I think that it's going to be replicated. I just hope that it's replicated well. Like I'm rooting really hard for it. I just don't know how it would be utilized.
Is it something that you would personally have interest in exploring?
Absolutely. If somebody has a way to do it and a great idea, then let creativity reign.
What would be your ideal version of a cinematic match for yourself?
Oh, probably in a church.
A church?
So my dad's a pastor.
Okay.
Yes, and so that's the first, like, oh, we could have fun in a church. There are lots of, you could try to drown someone in a baptismal. Like, come on.
That's pretty
Duncan,
epic.
like, over and over. Just repent your sins. I don't know, some bad shit.
Your dad's shaking his head for sure if he's going to listen to this.
He doesn't follow me on Instagram, so I don't think he'll listen to this. I don't know if there's any indie promotions out there that could make that happen. I have access to a church.
This church thing's going to happen, though. We need to see this happen now. Sorry, like the biggest thing in wrestling is what we all get involved with as fans. Like we love a good rivalry.
Oh yeah.
What do you look for as a professional in a rivalry? What are some of your favorites that you've been involved with or that you've even seen?
Most recently, the one that pops into my head is Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. I think that oh my goodness, their stuff was incredible. Their promos, the viciousness in their match, it was so great. It was so great to see.
The match itself, I thought was amazing because sometimes, the rivalry itself is better than the match. We see that quite a bit. But I feel like in a way the match was a little bit better than the rivalry itself. Not to say the rivalry was bad, but I felt it even more so when Charlotte won the NXT title and when she had the video package showing her how she beat the past, the present, and now she looks to beat the future. And I think that's great storytelling right there.
Oh, next level, right?
What type of rivalries have you been a part of that were your favorite?
I had a fun one in the beginning with one of my classmates at the dojo, Kylan King. We had a lot of fun matches that actually ended with no holds bar match at the end that ended with this big choke slam onto a bench because it was in a CrossFit gym. Oh, and that's been the most committed to a storyline that I've been a part of. And she's a great opponent. I love working with her, but want to slap her in the face and all that stuff.
Now, who's someone that you feel that you have the best chemistry with, that you love working with?
Serpentico. He's also my trainer, so like, it's not really fair. But I love working him. I've worked him on a few Mayhem shows, and in the ring, he is fluid and graceful and very quick, and that's just a lot of fun for me to follow and like be led through that match. He really challenges me, so it's fun.
What are some key things that you've learned from him?
You name it. How to roll, how to bump, tuck your chin, breathe out. Oh, for the longest time, I just held my breath through entire spots and then would be at the end like, my hit, I breathe. Because you're holding your breath. Like, what are you doing?
How long did you go through training before you had your first match?
I trained for about a year, and then I got injured.
Oh, no.
I had a shoulder injury that took me out for a good bit, and then I came back. So all in all, it was about 2 years until I was able to go out and have my first match.
Oh, wow. What was it like when you went back to training after being injured? Was it back to square one then?
Oh, it feels like it. You gotta build up all those calluses, and your body remembers, but it's reluctant. And so those first few days back were brutal, but I loved it because, I've been chomping at the bits to get back, and you finally get to go, and you're just crying because you're not where you used to be, but you see those goals of where you strive to be and how far you want to be past that. It's fun, great for self-improvement or whatever they say.
How was it, though, when you stepped in the ring for the first match? Because I remember my first time stepping foot into a ring in front of a live crowd. It was just surreal. Like I've been a fan all my life, and I was getting this giddy feeling, but of course I have to stay in character and not, be a mark. Was it kind of similar for you in a way, or?
Well, okay, so my first that feeling was previous to my first match, because I had a run-in choke slam moment with Serpentico at Mayhem on Mills. So at that point, I wasn't 100%, and I actually got heat for it from my mom. She's like, "You can't hurt yourself."
Nobody wants mom heat. That's like the worst heat you can get.
No one wants mom heat, and I've gotten so much mom heat in the past few months because of the death match, and she's just, I'm really trying to placate her. Trying to work her so that she's not so angry. But I had been in recovery for a few months, and I was just very down, and he asked if I wanted to do a run-in spot at the end of his match and give him a choke slam, and yep, and that's the first time that I met Snoop Strikes.
Oh, wow. So it was a big night overall.
It was a very, very big night, and the whole time in the match, I knew I was going to go up, and I was just shaking and just jumping back and forth on my feet, just it's going to be my turn, it's going to be my turn, this is going to be my turn, and then I'm going to do the thing. Yep, and they're doing their match, but then I'm going to come, and then I'm going to do my thing. Just absolutely giddy. Oh, just the giddiest.
No, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the same song that was going on in my head, except I had to actually speak. So I was like, all right, okay, it's just like theater, but different.
But a little bit different.
Yeah, very much so. Same principles, but it's different because in a way that, the fans they can talk back to you. Loudly. And it's not just a stage, you're all around, you're surrounded in there.
Love it, yeah.
Yeah, that was a different feeling for me, actually. I've never experienced that before.
Was that very intrusive for you? How did that? Or were you just so excited that it didn't?
The first the nerves were kicking in, and it was just all right, cool, it's showtime, let's do this. And I don't necessarily remember. I just remember what I said, and that was it. And next thing you know, that was my first time ever. And next thing you know, it's 2 years later, and here I am. I'm still doing this.
It all works out.
Yeah,
wrestling is a way of doing that.
It's addicting, needless to say.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, you were talking about your death matches, how you have mom heat for that right now.
Oh, so much mom heat. Every time she looks at my scar, she just
Is there any type of training, per se, that you would have to do differently when you prepare for a death match?
Lots of childhood trauma, probably. Really repress that shit. No, I'm just fucking. Certainly there is training. I will say it is not something I would suggest doing for your first match. There are so many tricks to this, and when I was lucky enough to have Alex Ocean walk me and be my first death match. So, I'm lucky. But when he was talking to me about some of the things, and he was like, assume that you're explaining this to a kindergartner and nothing is obvious, down to the minute detail. And I think that's kind of the best thing that you can do is just talk.
Right.
Like, hey, when you come at me with the syringe, how am I supposed to hold my hand so that it goes through the skin? And then you talk about it. It's just all about communication.
You make it sound so simple. I still don't want to do it, but
it's a scaffolding method.
How did
I'll
you get
do it first. You watch me do it, then the next time we do it together, and then you do it by yourself.
You say it with such a smile on your face too. It almost seems enticing.
And you know what? It really pisses Mom off when I talk about it and I smile, because every time I've talked about my death match or anything close to it, I just get this like giddy, gross. Nobody's gonna stop me on the street to tell me to smile. They'll probably come up to me and like tell me how nice I look, and then try to, because they think I'm inviting,
Right.
But
little did they know.
So really, it makes Mom angry.
Does your mom or does your family in general? I know you're a family person. Have they attended your matches at all?
Yes.
The death matches or the regular matches?
So the death match was not in front of a crowd, and they didn't know the location of it.
Okay.
Which really helped afterwards when I didn't have my phone and she was freaking out because I had a giant gash and she couldn't get a hold of me. So it was good that they didn't know the location. Oh
my God, that's really good. I wanted to know maybe if she was like backstage or something or
whatnot. No, I actually begged them not to watch the death match, but they did watch it on live stream because they're supportive parents.
What made you get it? Was it something that you always wanted to do, or was it something that you were that was just like, hey, we have this idea?
Nah, I wanted to. I talked about death matches since I walked into 3D.
So that was always the goal.
Not necessarily the goal, but it was definitely on the list. One of my first indie show tapes had Masada on it, like OG with the dreads, and so that was kind of like my introduction of like, oh, this shit's cool. I want to do that. I bleed every month. What's a few more? Like, what's the difference? Sure, cut me open.
That's an interesting take on how to look at that.
Women, why wouldn't women be doing more death matches? I love it.
I feel like it's definitely not for all wrestling fans as far as death matches, but there's definitely, you can tell, like there's a hardcore audience for it though.
Absolutely.
It's not anything that we're going to see in WWE or AEW. It's a whole other element, and I think that's the attraction too. It's something that we don't necessarily see all the time. It's something exclusive to the indies. Do you think there will be a time where we see a death match, possibly on AEW or on a major network?
Absolutely. With Jon Moxley?
I feel like we kind of saw it in a way. We're close to it when we saw Moxley versus Omega.
We've seen a lot of blood. I don't know that that's too far out of the realm necessarily.
No, more than what we're used to in that mainstream level. I mean, again, regular death matches, that was like nothing. That was like a minor cut. But for a mainstream level, that was pretty heavy.
Yeah, AEW is really great about listening. Nose to the ground type work.
Yeah.
I feel like if they hear that there's a need for it, or there's even a desire, that it would be a conversation that they'd have.
I want to see here, switching gears real fast. I'm sure you have a lot of colleagues, or you've seen some people that have getting bigger opportunities or get signed or whatever. How does that affect you as a performer or on a personal level when you see that?
Personally, I think that if you're not happy for your friends getting opportunities, you're weird as shit and need to go to therapy.
I 100% agree with that.
I am excited for every woman and friend that I have who gets these opportunities, because that's the business that we're in. We should be excited for our friends.
No, that's an absolute positive way to think about it. I myself work as an actor. I've seen some my friends and the people I've worked with, go on and do a Marvel movie, and it's exciting to see it. I get happy for anyone that gets signed, but in the artist world and the wrestling world, I kind of view them the same, because it's art, it's performing, there is, that negative stigma. There is, some people that like, get jealous of things like that, and it can affect them in how
Sure.
they perform.
I think it's important to be self-aware. So maybe even though you have those thoughts, first off, it's not necessarily what you believe. So if you catch yourself being jealous of somebody and maybe self-hate talk, right? I look at it as like the evil witch type, hunched over. You're like, oh, they got that, and then I should. But like, it's okay to have that moment and then reflect and be like, wait, just because they got an opportunity doesn't mean I didn't get an opportunity.
Right.
We are excited for our friends. We are excited for people we support. Like that.
No, of course.
That is, and so even if you catch yourself,
one has to think of it from a professional standpoint. Now that's another spot open.
I don't really see a lot of. I mean, you see it, and it's easy to fall into negativity, but it's if you're looking for it, right? So it's also easy to find a lot of positive. And gosh, I want to punch myself in the face for how just like throw pillow that was. Like sew it up. I think that I came from volleyball.
Okay.
I came from competitive volleyball, and I had to deal with not that my family was never rich and I was always on scholarships. Sorry, that was my dog. But that kind of community is very wealthy, and it's very biting. And so I just kind of learned to not be swept into the competitive biting aspect of it, because it really ruined the sport of volleyball for me. So,
oh no.
I mean, it gets to a point, especially as like a high school student, and I played since 4th grade. So by 12th grade, I was so over women. I was so over being around girls and being around cattiness and being around the competitive nature. I just thought women were the absolute shits, right?
Right.
Somebody is going to scream or like soundbite that, and like Sawyer says, that women are shit. But later, as I've evolved and grown, I don't know if you can say that. I'm certainly not going to say matured, but it has changed my way of viewing other women. So I don't think they're the shits. Surprise. I think that a lot of what I hated was the societal patriarchy pressure put on women. And I thought that playing into that, you get swept in. And I got swept into that. And so stepping back and seeing like why women do that and why they're competitive and why we're so angry with each other, and then kind of being aware of those things and realizing that they're not necessarily valid. I'm not going to just look at another girl and be like, you're talented. I don't like that shit.
Do you see that in the wrestling world too? In the wrestling locker room?
I try not to.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, it sounds like you've learned quite a bit from your background in volleyball, and I'm sure athletically that's helped you in the ring as well. But I think more importantly, what you saw in the locker room, what you learned from there, you're bringing to the wrestling world. And from what I can perceive from our conversation right now is that you try to stay positive as much as possible and not feed into the bullshit that goes around it.
Yeah, man. I mean, what's the alternative to trying to be positive? You be sad. You be negative. I'm sad enough without trying to be sad,
Just look at the news. You just turn that on. You'll be sad right there instantaneously.
Yeah.
No one wants to do that.
No one wants to do that.
It's crazy. It's funny to see like someone like so positive and happy to be so hardcore. Like I feel like in the streets, if someone were to pass by you and have a conversation, they would never know.
They would never know that I put syringes through people's hands and enjoy bleeding through other orifices than we're supposed to.
Right.
Yeah, I think that they would see that from my smile.
But I
also don't really smile in public, so I don't know. I walk really quickly in public too. It's a bad habit, so people don't really like, maybe I should get out of her way, but she knocks me over.
No, but I respect everything that you do. I personally cannot wait for things to go back to normal. Would personally love to see death matches that you're going to take place in next. Do you have any matches that are supposed to line up for when this is all over, or?
It's also in the air. I have watched my dates pass by and crumble with my dreams, and really just this vast open void of possibility, right? Thanks for that reminder. It was great.
No, I'm sorry. Don't hurt me.
I was doing so well. This has been great. I'm going to go be miserable and be sad.
No, I think I'm hoping that we'll be getting out this soon, and then we can have wrestling back to normal, whether it's empty audiences or what have you, or different venues. Who knows?
Maybe a church.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe a church.
I'll talk to Dad.
You have the hookup for the venue.
Oh, for sure.
But Sawyer Wreck, thank you again for joining us. Are you gonna stick around for last call?
Oh, I would not miss last call.
Hell yeah.
This is Sawyer Wreck. Thank you for listening, but we are not done yet. Stay tuned until the end of this episode for last call.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I need to announce it's last call at the bar. Oh.
All right, guys. Thank you for staying tuned for last call. I am here with Sawyer Wreck. You ready? Are you ready for this?
So ready. Oh, this is...
I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if anyone's ever really ready for last call, but we're going to go anyway.
The lights are going down, or coming up. That's last call. I drink, I know. Lights are coming up.
Lights may be going down for some people.
Some people, last call comes before the lights come up, so.
Exactly. All right, so getting started here. What is your biggest pet peeve?
When people interrupt me, which I do it a lot, so it's like a self-loathing and noticing other people do it, and like, oh, I can't make myself stop hating every second of it.
Who is your dream opponent?
Dream opponent?
Yeah.
All right, I really would like to have a match with Max the Impaler.
All right.
She is, oh, yeah, that's it. Out of quarantine, that's the match that I'm striving for somebody to book.
Now, what's your favorite snack?
Reese's. Pumpkin-shaped Reese's.
Okay. What's the difference between the pumpkin and the, say, for example, the regular?
The chocolate to peanut butter ratio is just like slightly different. You also see it in the Christmas trees. You know, it's the seasons. It's just like a little happiness.
I feel you. Now I want Reese's. Which fictional character would you want to wrestle?
Oh, fuck. Harry Potter. Just get him to shut up. Oh. He needs to be punched in the face repeatedly by a woman. The way that he just like stomps over Hermione and gets all of the credit and worship because he's a white man and basic as hell. It's just very irritating.
Yeah. Sign me up. I want to referee that match. What's your favorite movie?
It doesn't really fit with the light tubes. I'm going to say West Side Story.
Definitely doesn't fit with the light tubes.
I know. Oh, it was so much worse because my first thought was Pride and Prejudice. So I don't know.
Are we talking about the classic version, right? The original?
Absolutely,
okay.
Any version.
All right. Showing different side here.
Really letting the people know who I am.
And that's what we're here for. That's exactly what last call is all about.
Yeah, man. Lights going down.
Lights going down for sure. Now, what's your biggest regret?
Probably listening to the patriarchy for so long about my height.
Okay.
So, as 6'2", 6'3" to 5", depending on what promoter you're listening to. Listen, if guys who are 5'11" are getting booked or billed as 6'4", I don't want to hear anybody complain about hearing me billed as something besides 6'2" after this. All right? Thanks.
Hey, listen.
That was a side.
Some people think that the build height is real height, so.
It's fine. Just chill. But that was a really big struggle growing up because I hit 6 foot in middle school. So that kind of like being told to be smaller or kind of like implied that you have to be shorter than your partner, don't wear heels, like those kind of things. I wish that I would have said fuck off earlier.
You know, a thing that could be considered a flaw, which is really your strength actually in a way if you think about it. You know, people are going to attack right away. You know,
yeah.
Now, you know those mixed match challenges that we've seen on TV before. Who would be your mixed match partner if you had to go for one of those?
That's a very good question. You're really on point with these.
Thank you.
Brain busters. God damn it. What's Gable's name right now?
Oh, Shorty G.
Out too. Huh?
Shorty G.
Chad Gable?
That'd be perfect.
Shorty G. There it is. Shorty G. Bless his heart. He's such a good wrestler.
He is a good wrestler, which is funny. What do you look for in a relationship?
I have only had one.
Wow.
So I've been focused on some other stuff. But from that one, I am going to pull the biggest factor is my mom has to like you off the bat.
I got past the mom test. That's a hard one for a lot of people.
That's a hard one. And my mom is really nice. So when she doesn't like someone and she like kind of lets me know about it, and I'm not proud of this, I'll guilt her a little bit like, Mom, but you're being so judgmental. Like, and I feel like I shouldn't do that ever.
You know, it's funny.
I've learned my lessons.
My mom, behind the girl's back, actually, would give the thumbs up or thumbs down to me. Kind of gladiator style.
Oh,
no joke. My mom would always do that.
Solid communication.
All right. So other than wrestling, what is the biggest thing that you're missing right now while in lockdown?
My family. I have family out of state, up in New York and in Charlotte. My nephew and niece, and my newest niece, who is only 2 months old, and I haven't met yet.
Oh, no.
That's been very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there's some things that like cannot be replaced right now, and the family is the biggest thing. I think we're all learning right now just like how much family truly means to us, because you know there's no replacing necessarily just being there physically. You know, like you can Skype and Zoom all you want, but it's gonna sound really cheesy. You just want a hug.
Yes. Just freaking Olaf. I already said the Pride and Prejudice thing. Like they all know I'm gushy.
And just
you crave that kind of stuff.
Gossip, watch some stupid shit, and yeah.
Yeah, punk mom and dad for how they raised us and all the trauma. Like, it's just fun.
Exactly. Oh, man. Now you have me missing that, too.
I know. The, like, positives that have come out of the missing part, though, is my grandma, who's in a home right now and has Alzheimer's. So not seeing her has been really, this is very deep for a podcast.
Hey, we go light, we go deep. This is deep for last call. How many have we had right now?
Lights are dim. But the nurses, people who work at her home set up a little parade for the families to do, and they like brought the residents outside in this little roundabout gimmick, and they played songs and we made signs for them, and we drove past them and waved them at her, and she was all waving and happy and stuff. It was real sweet.
Oh, that's amazing.
Not salty at all. It was great. I was super dry-eyed the whole time.
Oh, that's very touching.
Yeah, so people are cool sometimes, you know? They're trying.
Well, we're seeing people's true colors during this, I think. But, you know, for every negative press that we see, there's a lot of good people out there obviously doing great things, as you just told us. But Sawyer, thank you so much for joining us today for Last Call, for a Shot of Wrestling. Where can we find you on social media?
At Sawyer Wreck on Instagram or Twitter. Not my Facebook. That's my real name, and I have my mom on there. It's weird.
No Facebook for Sawyer Wreck. Thank you again, Sawyer. And guys, tune in next week for another episode of Shot of Wrestling.
Hey baby, I hear the bell ringing, hip tosses and body slams. Oh my. And maybe you seem a bit confused, yeah baby, but I got you pinned. Ha 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 ha. But I don't know what to do when I see them with that golden case. They're cashing it in. Authority all in my face. What is a man to do? Good night, everybody.